is the Hot Zone. Engaging with the news in a whole new way, international war correspondent Chuck Holton brings insight into areas of crisis and lets you help those affected.
Hey folks, Chuck Holton here. Thanks for watching the Hot Zone. It's been a long 7 or 8 weeks. I've been gone. I'm finally back home in Panama, sleeping in my own bed, and that's a really nice thing. I'm going to try to stay here for a week or two at least and get some editing done. I got a lot of footage in the can over the last 6 or 7 weeks, even including the wedding of my oldest son and all the work we did around the farm and everything. I still managed to film a bunch of CBN pieces and that sort of thing that all need to get edited. So I'm going to be doing that for the next week or two, I hope, unless some major catastrophe happens. I'm also looking to do some reporting while I'm here in Panama on the unfolding crisis that I've done a lot of talking about on the show with regards to the migrant issue here in Panama. They're still seeing record numbers coming through the jungle. If you recall, back in August, Panama and Colombia made a deal to limit the number of people coming into Panama illegally crossing through the Darien Gap to 650 a day. Well, that's not happening because there's just no way to stop them from coming. There's just no way to there is a bottleneck between Necoclí and Caparganá because they have to take a boat. But that's really more an issue of capacity than it is anything else. If the smugglers had the capacity, they would bring twice as many people. And there are other methods that they can enter the jungle, going from Turbo or even that Sea of Urabá that is between the mainland and that spit that forms the border between Panama and Colombia. There are ways around that they can just go through the jungle. It adds a couple of days to the walk, but these people are coming. They're desperate. There are tens of thousands of people stacked up in Necoclí, and I just made a story about that aired on CBN, I think this morning, so take a look at that. The very first civilization that migrants come to when they walk through the Darien Gap is this village behind me of Bajo Chiquito. And it's about 400 Indians who live here. They have no running water or electricity. But today they're receiving 800 to 1,000 migrants every day coming through the jungle into their village. And it's turned the village into an open pit sewer.
The migrants come from all over the world, and the majority right now are from Haiti. They've heard that pregnant women and families with children get preferential treatment when they get to the U.S., so record numbers of children are being forced to make the deadly 6-day walk through the jungle. Many, like these Haitian kids, arrive in Panama without their parents, leaving the government to determine what to do with them.
¿Cuántos años tienes tú? 6? Tú tienes 6 años. ¿Y ella? 11.
Lucila Velasquez is the wife of the mayor. She says the children suffer the most.
The poor children, they are in their 8-10 days, suffering in the jungle. They go hungry, they stay wet all the time from the rain. They get sick from the diseases there. Unfortunately, there are many who die during the crossing.
So we've been here about an hour, and this place is an absolute madhouse now, like nothing we've ever seen here before. They're coming nonstop out of the jungle, always in very bad shape, and they're trying to get them out of here as soon as they can. So they put them on boats and send them downriver to the camp down there, which is also full. The ones who were in the camp the last time I was here have already gone to the United States and are part of the record numbers that they're seeing at the U.S. southern border right now. And so judging by what I see behind me, those numbers are going to explode because there is a large glut of migrants that are making their way north, much larger than there was a couple months ago.
Despite an August agreement between Panama and Colombia to limit the daily number of migrants entering Panama to 600, the vast jungle makes enforcing that agreement almost impossible. Reports from the Colombian side of the Gap estimate more than 20,000 Haitians waiting to start their journey. About the only delay is the capacity of the smugglers who help them across, and that capacity grows daily, meaning things will likely get worse here in Panama and then at the U.S. southern border within the next month or so. From the Darien Jungle, I'm Chuck Holton for CBN News.
Okay, so as you know, I've been reporting from Panama on this issue for, a decade or more. And it's just continually getting worse this year, especially. And I want to track that down further south because, as I've reported, the vast majority of these migrants are not coming directly from Haiti or Cuba or the places where they're ostensibly fleeing persecution. They are coming from third countries where they have been living for years and making a living and doing just fine. And they're coming to the United States for a better paycheck, which does not an asylum claim make. And if you consider the fact that this month they're talking about 400,000 more migrants crossing illegally into the United States, just ponder that number for a minute. We're talking about the city of Denver. We're talking about the city of Fort Worth, Texas. We're talking about Tucson, Arizona. A whole city of illegal immigrants coming into the United States every month. What will that do to our cultural makeup? What will that do to our political makeup? What will that do to our economy, since most of these people are wards of the state? As far as I understand, the majority of them are getting a check from the Office of Refugee Resettlement in the United States for up to $4,000 per person to help them get settled in the United States. They're being, bussed and flown all over the country to any city they like. And so they're stacking up. I mean, what's the travel cost? Just the travel cost. If you figure 400,000 plane tickets, how many tens of millions of dollars does that come out to? That's not free. This is a large drain on the U.S. economy. And so it remains to be seen just how badly it will damage America. But the bottom line is they're still coming and they're not going to stop. And obviously, the Biden administration is not going to stop them. So I'm going to try to interview the foreign minister of Panama while I'm here to talk to her about what they're trying to do. There are ways that Panama and the United States could assist Panama in stopping that flow of migrants coming through the jungle, which I've talked about many times before. And so it just remains to be seen if anybody has the political will to actually do something about this problem. It appears that they don't. It appears that they're very happy to have up to 400,000 migrants a month traipsing across the U.S. desert into the United States. And the other thing is that has led to a lot of dead bodies. This is not a safe journey by any stretch. And so these people are coming from a place where they are safe, where they are making a living in Chile, Ecuador, Brazil, places like that. And they're making a very dangerous journey for a better paycheck into the United States. But many of them die along the way. Now, I've done, as you know, decades of reporting along the U.S. southern border. And I may head back up there when I get a chance to do some more reporting, because there's apparently another big slug of Haitians coming to Yuma, Arizona. They aren't coming to Del Rio, Texas anymore because that place is now fortified. So they're going to look for the weak link. And Yuma, Arizona apparently is on the list next. And in the next couple of weeks, you will see a lot about Yuma, Arizona in the news. Just mark my words there. But when you come to understand the dangers of crossing that desert into Arizona, I think it puts it in a different perspective. So take a look at this report that I did a few years ago, flying along the border in Arizona. Check it out.
H.L. Cooper has been flying ultralight aircraft around southern Arizona for more than 20 years. This incredible view shows the vastness of the desert along the Arizona-Mexico border. But along with the beautiful vistas of mountains and saguaro cactus, Cooper sees another sight on a regular basis from his vantage point in the sky. Illegal aliens transporting drugs across the desert, bound for America's fifth largest city, Phoenix.
Nowadays, there's a whole lot more drug running than there used to be. It's one of the highest traffic areas. This valley here and the next valley over there, that's the Ulster Valley over there. And it's a heavily traveled route there.
Illegal immigration has always been an issue. What's changed is the level of violence.
It's been getting worse and worse, but as far as safer, no. We're right in the middle of it. When they come out of this valley, we're one of the first places they come to. We've been vandalized, we've been stolen from. We used to hike all over the desert out here. Anymore, now we don't go out without being armed.
And the problem isn't only on the ground.
The Border Patrol reports that drug runners are using ultralight aircraft like this to bring loads of drugs across the border and drop them in the United States. But they're not the only thing in the sky.
Recently, the Border Patrol started using remotely piloted surveillance aircraft to patrol the desolate stretches of desert where smuggling is prevalent. These eyes in the sky also help the effectiveness of agents on the ground. But residents along the border say more needs to be done. Rancher Ed Ashurst's neighbor was murdered by a drug runner earlier this year.
When I first moved to this country, most of the activity you saw was people going north looking for a job. The last several years it's changed into mainly outlaw activity. They pack dope north, drop it off, and on the way south they like to break into homes here on the American side and pack off things. They really like to steal firearms, and 80% of the homes have been burglarized in the last 2 winters by illegal aliens.
Seeing it, we have more illegals that come through our county than any other county.
Further north, Pinal County Sheriff Paul Babu says his hands are full protecting residents here from the drug violence, and he hasn't gotten much help from the federal government. In fact, the Obama administration recently supported the ACLU in bringing a lawsuit against Babu and several other Arizona sheriffs, suing to stop them from enforcing Arizona's immigration law.
This is a hotbed for criminal activity. We need soldiers, armed soldiers to the border now to stop this from continuing. In response to our plea for help and for armed soldiers, they put up these signs, not written in Spanish, not facing south to the Mexican border, but facing north in English, warning to our citizens, travel not recommended. This is unacceptable.
While the war of words continues in Washington, the people of southern Arizona face weapons that are much deadlier. This year alone, the drug war along the border has claimed more than 2,500 lives. That's nearly 5 times the number of American troops killed this year in Afghanistan.
I believe that this is a greater threat against our national security than any other threat that exists today, an unsecured border.
Pinal County law enforcement regularly encounters armed drug smugglers who have all but taken over wide areas of this high mountain desert.
From this point on, it's a standing order that we don't come more than 2 deputies coming out here due to one of our deputies getting shot in the leg.
In addition to the danger, trash left by illegals is becoming a major environmental hazard. Okay, so this is kind of what we're seeing here. The illegals come down out of the mountains, come across the desert for 3 to 5 days walking, then they dump all their stuff here next to the freeway, get on trucks, and head into Phoenix. But this is something interesting. Notice this bag. It has an American flag on it, and it says United States Aid from the Agency for International Development, USAID, aid from the American people. This is a bag that we sent down to Central America filled with bulgur wheat, and now it's coming back filled with drugs. But piles of garbage are the least of these deputies' worries as they continue to face attacks, both from drug runners and the federal government. Chuck Holton, CBN News, on the border in southern Arizona.
Okay, folks, that's all I've got time for today. I got to get back to editing, but we're going to have a lot more, obviously, on this topic and on many others. I have an upcoming trip planned to Syria, so stay tuned for that and a whole lot more. Thanks for watching The Hot Zone. I just wanted to point out, for those of you who have made it this far that are actually watching this thing, would you support the podcast by liking and sharing it on YouTube? You can applaud on YouTube and actually donate there. But go to locals.com/Chuck Holton And you can see some of I'm posting some of the news articles that I see and that I use to craft where I'm going to go next, to decide what kind of stories are coming up in the news. If you've been following this podcast, you've been 5 to 7 months ahead of the mainstream media when it comes to this immigration crisis. And that's because I'm doing a bunch of research, and I'm going and I'm covering this stuff. And actually, reporters from Fox News are contacting me to try to get information that I collected months ago that they're now reporting like it's an exclusive on their networks. So that's just the way it goes. And so you can stay up to date and ahead of the power curve on the news by watching the Hot Zone. And so I need your support. We use that support not to live on, but I use that support to help people wherever we go. On our recent trip to Armenia, we were able to help a couple of families and really change their lives. Not just give them a couple of bucks, but really change their lives. And that's all because of support from viewers like you. So thanks for watching the Hot Zone. I'm Chuck Holton.
The Hot Zone is produced by Amy Holton and Livefire Media.
Copyright 2021.